And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. We've already got one viewer, but let's just wait for everyone to join in. Now we'll just run around the sandbox. Are you guys already inside, or do you not want to come in the featured experience? Hold on. So let's just start with a little bit of an intro.
Sure. Oh, nice. I just saw the picture there.
Yeah. Pretty cool. He's drinking bubble tea.
Love my bubble tea.
Yes. It's one of my favorite things in the world.
I remember my first bubble tea. It was when I was 17.
Wow.
Yeah, 17 years old.
You had it so late.
Yeah, because I had to learn to drive to get there. Yeah, it was one of my few pleasures of driving. It's like, oh, sweet. Got the car, I can get more bubble tea.
When Pavan first told me, I thought that was so funny because I grew up drinking bubble tea as a Asian kid.
I mean, I would have too. Dude, I had
Yeah.
so many Asian friends being in Central Jersey. It was just the bubble tea places were just farther away from us. I guess you could walk there, right? As a kid?
It's not so much that I walked there because I lived in a suburban neighborhood, but it's just that, we'd just go to Chinatown or
Oh, I see. Okay.
Asian markets and it'd just be right there, right? Yeah.
Oh, you're so lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, like, in Singapore, there's a bubble tea shop like in every corner, so I'm spoiled. I think it was a good place to get the foods. We've got all the food over here. So. But yeah, let's do a quick intro. It seems like people are already joining in. Do you guys want to give some information about yourself?
Sure.
Yeah.
My name's Pavan. I got into crypto I first heard of Bitcoin in 2012. I was getting lunch with a friend in New York, and I was pitching him this stock market app that I made. I had this whole algorithm. It was wrong, but I had this whole algorithm for predicting things based off of like unusual options activity.
Okay.
So he wasn't interested at all. He was just telling me that he was buying Bitcoin. And I asked him what was Bitcoin. And he said he doesn't know, but he's just buying a ton of it. And I was like, man, he's crazy, but he's so smart. I didn't look into it. And then my wife heard about Bitcoin in the news in 2013 and looked into it more, bought some, nothing crazy. It immediately goes down, and my friends all make fun of me. And then I left my engineering job in New York at Media Math to start a healthcare company. I actually started with my wife called INR Tracker. It was a way for people on blood thinners to manage their health online. So we started that, raised some money from a biotech company, grew it, but we didn't see the retention curve that we really wanted.
Okay.
So we started to look at other options and started teaching. So I started teaching web development at Barnard in New York, and loved it. Joined an ed tech company really early. And in 2019, we grew to 8 figures in annual revenue and got acquired by 2U, a company on the NASDAQ. And during that time, I got really into Solidity and Ethereum. I couldn't leave my job because of the company was growing really, really fast. Okay. And I was a C-level executive, but I really, really wanted to just get involved in Web3. And so started learning Solidity, started going to talks, moved to the Bay Area to be closer to blockchain engineers, and started giving talks because I thought what I knew about Solidity wasn't a big deal, but it was because it was like 2018. And I got recruited to work at Consensus. after Trilogy, and Trilogy Education Services. That was a startup, and I got to work with Joseph Lubin, the MetaMask team, consulted on a bunch of cool projects in Web3, and during that time, I actually met Jason at a conference, a crypto conference. It was Neo DevCon in San Francisco. I owned some Neo at the time, and I thought, man, it'd be cool to learn how to build on this platform. I go to the conference with a really good friend of mine, Rich Kuo, a CTO of a food delivery company that I grew up with, and turns out you cannot build on Neo. Like, it's impossible. It was the first time I saw my friend Rich get angry because literally nothing worked during the developer workshop, and it was a developer convention for Neo. Throughout our entire time there, no one seemed of no integrity. Like, I didn't trust anyone there, dude.
Okay.
But we did meet Jason. So my friend Rich was like, "Hey, dude, I met the one non-scammy person here," and then we just bonded over being the only non-scammy people at DevCon. Literally, everyone was pitching an ICO there. It was nuts, except like we were like, "How do we code?" on Neo. So I'll just transition to Jason.
Yeah, I guess it's a funny transition. Yeah, we were just at Neo DevCon. That was back in 2018. It was crazy at the time too. Looking back, they had a rapper, and Neo was hitting all-time highs too, and it was just very exuberant. We obviously should have sold at that time, but we didn't because we're, like everyone at that time, we're just like, oh man, this is crazy. All-time highs across, for every token. But it was great to meet Pavan then. So I guess just quickly about myself, I've been in gaming for a long time, like over 10 years in gaming in some role or capacity. I went to USC for undergrad, and then so I was in LA. So I stayed in LA, and LA has a lot of gaming studios there. So I actually started my career in investment banking, but working with gaming companies to help them raise money, potentially get acquired or sell. And that's kind of basically how I started out my career, just really focused on the gaming vertical. And I was a gamer already, so it was like really fun and exciting for me. At that time, which is really interesting, and I kind of draw parallels to that time to where we are now in crypto, is that the app stores had just come out. Free to play was a new business model, so so it was really interesting to see at that time, and we could talk about this more on the stream, but people at the time were very skeptical about free to play. Thought it was a broken business model. Oh, how are you going to make money if a game's free, right? Little did people know that was going to be the dominant business model in a decade. So so it was really interesting, right? So I worked a lot with gaming companies at that time on just fundraising and selling. I did that for about 3 years, and then I went to work at Warner Brothers in corporate development, so kind of on the opposite side, where we're looking to buy gaming companies, and also and WB is known for their film and TV, IP as well, like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Matrix. Those are all WB properties and franchises. But their gaming arm is absolutely massive too. They self-develop, self-publish, a lot of their own games, like Batman, Arkham Asylum, all the Lego games you may see on console and PC. Those are all by them. And what's really interesting is that at that time I actually was on the deal team, that made that looked at buying Twitch, for example, before they sold to Amazon. WB also made offers to buy Riot and Epic. So got to kind of see how they thought about looking at these game studios, and it was really interesting, right? And of course, WB was doing their own operations too on their own gaming team. So that was really great. Did that for about another few years too, and then kind of got the itch to start my own company, kind of similar to Pavan. It was nothing crazy, similar to Pavan. I think for my really first startup, it was difficult to get that retention curve, but I kind of was doing just some media website aggregator company, like kind of like a BuzzFeed idea. But got really good at growth and really understood how to develop an audience during that time, so that our websites reached 1 to 2 million monthly active users or monthly visitors. So it was enough to kind of monetize on ads, but it was not really sustainable or easy to scale. After beyond that, and around that time, that was 2017. That's when I started getting into crypto. I bought my first crypto kitty in 2017, along with ETH, Bitcoin, all that stuff. So I came in a little bit later than Pavan. And then around that time, that was when the DevCon was happening. That's when I met Pavan too. And then I transitioned to a company called Omelette Arcade, which is at the very early stage. It's a pretty large mobile game live streaming platform. It's partnered with Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. But it's really really big in Southeast Asia, Latin America, because that's where the mobile, those are the markets which are mobile first, right? So what's really interesting about those markets and where we are now is that, was able to kind of see the rise, even within our own platform at that time, the rise of Axie Infinity, because people in the Philippines were starting to stream this game called Axie Infinity. I was like, what is this game, right? Why is it trending on our charts? So got to see that happen, and that's when I started to get really interested in crypto gaming as well. And then around August, Polygon Studios made their announcement that they were, launching a $100 million fund. They actually just announced today they're doing a $200 million fund with Alexis Ohanian. It's kind of interesting, but so I joined as an advisor on the gaming side for Polygon. I had a connection to the team there, and they just needed someone who just knew gaming well and just knew different studios and based in the US. So I kind of joined them, just kind of help them out and make some connections for them, and kind of help spearhead some of their gaming efforts. So I'm still with them right now, but of course, now starting to get increasingly busy with Oni Squad and working with Pavan.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like you guys already have a lot of experience within the gaming and crypto space in general. You guys have been on a wild ride, man. Long journey.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, I think people laugh at free to play, like how they're laughing at play to earn right now. But I think in the future, our kids will be laughing at us because we paid to play video games. And they'll be earning money playing video games. So I think that's a definite possibility. Do you guys want to give us a quick background of the Oni Squad and what the project is all about?
Yeah, sure. I was starting a company after leaving Consensus in 2020, and it was basically Discord with games inside. But there would be some matchmaking based on your hobbies and interests. So I started building up this great engineering team that was really good at Elixir, which is like a really, really challenging functional programming language. It's used in WhatsApp, like Erlang, Elixir, used in WhatsApp and Discord to manage like many, many concurrent connections at once, but at a low cost.
Okay.
And it's with the code, it's crazy. You can manage so many things and do so many things that are basically impossible in other languages. But it's a totally different thinking process when coding in Elixir. And so I started growing this team of excellent engineers, and we actually built out the entire prototype, and we were about to launch. And I asked one of my engineers, Eduardo, who who's always doing crypto stuff. And, I've been in crypto forever. And I was like, well, what are you up to? And he said, oh, I'm playing Axie Infinity. I'm like, oh, tell me more. And he said, yeah, he showed me how he was playing it. And I was like, oh, how much did you spend on this? And he was like, oh, like all my money. I'm like, you spent all your money on this? He was like, yeah, all my money. I'm like, why? Like, what made you do this? And he said, oh, I'm in a gaming guild. I'm like, wait a minute, a gaming guild? And I was like, you mean like a DAO? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, you're in a DAO and you're putting all your money into this? And I started looking into it more. And I was like, man, this is it. Like I know how to build smart contracts. I have this incredible engineering team, and I just need to grow this team the right way, and we can be really big in this space. And I knew I needed someone on the growth community marketing side, biz dev, finance. I'm good at product technology and growing teams and managing teams, setting the vision. But I needed someone to come in where I was weak. So I was talking to Jason, and at first I was talking to him as like, hey, would you come in as an advisor? But I think Jason was in the same mindset. You know, he was started seeing. He could talk more obviously in depth about it, but he was seeing Axie Infinity rise as well, and he joined Polygon, and he was like seeing all the gaming companies coming out, and thankfully was able to get Jason to come join us as co-founder, and we continue to attract incredible talent, just people that can execute extremely fast. We started this company, we pivoted, we decided to pivot at the end of August. We started working on our game mid-September. We're basically almost done and launching in mid-January, which is lightning fast. And my team did not know Solidity beforehand. You know, we just learned rapidly. I mean, I knew it beforehand, so it was easy to kind of like steer them in the right direction. But these are incredibly talented engineers. It's like they're so much better than I ever was in my lifetime. Because the things that they do would take me like 4 months, but they do it in a week. You know, like they're just incredibly quick. So I'm really thankful to have like such a strong engineering team. And we're basically just bringing in this incredible marketing manager that thanks to Jason. But yeah, I'll let Jason take it from here and actually tell you about like the game and maybe why he joined Oni Squad with me. Yeah.
Yeah. Pavan's really loves the team, so he loves to talk about it, which is great. But definitely happy to chat more about the product as well too. And but yeah, as for myself, just but really quickly, just you know, when I was talking with Pavan, it's funny because I actually had asked him when he was working on his other more Web2 idea why he wasn't doing something in crypto. So I said, hey, you were at Consensus. There's just so few people who actually know how to develop for Web3. Why wouldn't you just do something like, you see what's happening with DeFi and crypto gaming and everything? But I think in parallel, he was obviously talking to our engineer, Eduardo, at the same time. So kind of was like kind of a convergence almost in terms of the way we're thinking. But yeah, I mean, I was really excited to do something within crypto gaming. I mean, just as a gamer myself, right? As I kind of mentioned earlier, been in gaming for a long time. Flat Play to Earn was very innovative and disruptive, and also just as a gamer myself, right? I mean, I think what's interesting, we can talk to this more, but I think most gamers know, right? Like, you've just been spending money, right, to buy these digital assets. And yeah, it just totally makes sense if you could just own them outright. And yes, the business model might be a little bit different, but from a developer standpoint, but definitely from a user consumer standpoint, it's much better to own the assets, and especially if they're portable and you can use them, other things. I think at the end of the day, it's always whatever is interesting and best for the consumer. That's usually what wins out over the long run, right? So that's how I view it, right? But anyway, so for our game, Pavan and I talked a lot about it, and of course to see what's happening in the play to earn economy, in the play to earn space. So our first game is actually not going to be play to earn. It's more of a proof of concept, actually. We just wanted to get our team like up to speed, get to know a lot about, just get to learn a lot about, Solidity and developing for Web3, and ideally just get it out really quickly too. Just because from our perspective, right? And I also see this from the Polygon side too, where you just have a lot of companies that are raising money and then they have a 1 to 2 year dev cycle. And we feel like crypto just moves so fast that we wanted to, get something out quickly so we could learn, and then we could basically take our learnings and then for the next game, develop something that's play to earn, right? Definitely believe in play to earn, but I think we just want to be very thoughtful about the tokenomics while letting our engineering team, get up to speed on like Web3 development in general, right? Yeah. So it's kind of like our business process in terms of how we're thinking about like being very thoughtful about our step-by-step process for development and scaling up. So our first game is called Oni Mansion. So Oni Squad is our, I guess, kind of like our NFT brand. We have a collection that's currently minting. We did very little marketing around it. We just view it almost like the mint to be like an online store that's continually open. Yeah. But for Oni Mansion, essentially what's really cool about it, so the game itself is basically kind of like a builder game. It's a casual social game where the goal of the game is to earn the game reward tokens. And of course, it's not play to earn, so it's not like there's liquidity to sell that. But the game reward tokens is then used to purchase decorations and items that you can then kind of customize your house. And then over time you can like make your house look cooler. And then at the end of the game, which is it's a 3-week event, so it's almost like it only lasts for 3 weeks. Then you can mint your NFT house. So I think what's interesting about what we're doing, so we were very deliberate about doing a lot of different interesting things for our first game because we view it as a way to learn and also to test out some really like interesting Web3 stuff that we hadn't really seen other people do. So I think the first concept is that we're testing out is the concept of building out and customizing your own NFT. I think that's something that not too many people have really done so far, but people are starting to experiment on this more. So we're going to be pushing out on this front. A lot of it will be on chain, although we're kind of going through what will be on chain, what will be off chain, just to make the user experience better. But that will be so that's one aspect of it. We're also leaning in massively into composability. So I see that you got you have our profile pictures inside your world, inside your sandbox world. So so we're also also think it's really interesting to see if we could do something, and what would it look like if we introduce other profile pictures or NFT projects inside our world and actually able to play through the game as like an actual primary player, not just a picture and then that's all you see, right? Yeah. So I know other projects are starting to experiment with that, but so we want to be one of the first projects out there to really kind of go deep into that and see what does that look like. There's a whole onboarding process to that is also innovative as well too. I'll let Pavan cover that a little bit more because it's a little bit more technical, but basically our idea is that for this game, we're also testing how do we make it really easy for people to play this game, right? So we actually developed a bridgeless gasless process, so people don't have to bridge like their Lazy Lion NFT or Curious Addy NFT. These are the two initial projects that we're supporting. You can just play the game and just have it. And in our beta that we did last week, or alpha test last week, we were able to prove and show that kind of works right now. So I think basically the three main things that we're really interested in is making the onboarding really easy, leaning into composability, and then also experimenting with this whole customization, this more social casual layer of game, where it's just a little bit more chill, it's more collaborative. People, when they visit each other's houses, they can haunt them, they can leave messages, and when they do, it's almost like Animal Crossing where you can leave messages right to each other. But but when you leave messages, you also earn tokens as well too. So what we envision is that people will be in our game talking to each other. They'll be in our Discord or Twitter saying, hey, like I need more tokens so I can get my the best rare trait for my house. Come visit me more. So that's kind of what we envision will be happening. It'll be just like kind of like this fun community-based event, and across different NFT projects. So it is kind of a little bit like this metaverse sort of play, but it's in 2D and it's a little bit more around this game-centered experience. So I'll stop there. I've been talking a lot, and maybe if you have questions, you can ask them or let Pavan talk more about it.
That's all good information. So when you mentioned that you'll be able to customize your NFT, do you mean like maybe through the gameplay you'll be able to earn a mask and then put it on your NFT? Or is it something else?
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
So,
go ahead,
sorry,
Pavan.
Jason. Oh, yeah. So we, on our roadmap, we are thinking in that thought process of letting people upgrade their NFTs. That's more for 2022. But for this game, it's about the mansion. It's about upgrading the mansion.
Okay.
So there are traits though, specifically inspired by the NFT collections that can play. So we have some Lazy Lions inspired traits, some Curious Addies inspired traits. So we're really proud to not just let these people play as first class citizens in the game, but also have our artist have his creative vision be inspired by those collections as well.
Cool. So you mentioned that throughout my research, I found out that you're trying to build 3 different games by 2022. So do you want to speak a little bit more about the genre of the games and what they might look like?
Sure. So we're focused on like casual games. We see ourselves as the Zynga of Web3. Zynga really innovated in making casual, fast games that with really great onboarding processes, and they took advantage of Facebook as a platform to grow. And we see our Facebook being composability, and that's our growth flywheel that we see, and play to earn, obviously, and yeah, so we're focused on fast development cycles. Our first game, essentially like September 15th to January 15th, we're going live, right? I mean, January 17th is when we're going live with the actual gaming event, but it's like a 4-month. I think that's like a 4-month dev and product cycle, including the smart contract audit. We believe for the next one, it'll be even faster because we've grown our team since then. We've hired an incredible mobile gaming engineer for his interview. He finished an entire game that we spec'd out in 20 hours to a mobile device, which is, I couldn't do that. Guy's insane. So we have an incredible team. We're focused on casual games, and Jason can talk more about the specifics of what we're thinking.
Yeah, so for the next game that we'll be doing, it'll be definitely connected to I guess the Oni Mansion gaming event. So what we're envisioning right now is that the setting of the next game will be, which will probably come out, in, I guess, Q2 likely of next year. Very rough timeline, and we're already kind of scoping that and thinking about what that design would look like, and definitely it's going to be play to earn. But I think loosely what we're thinking about is that we think that, again, the casual genre is, I think, underserved in crypto right now. We actually think that's a more exciting area to be in, given that, it's really funny actually, because sorry, this is maybe a little bit a tangent, but as you probably see, there's a lot of games that are very, I would say they're more like they're trying to either be very AAA hardcore, or they're very very appealing to kind of like the crypto demographic, which is fine. But I think, but when you really take a step back and you think about like what is Axie Infinity, is actually fairly casual. Of course, like getting into the game is tough. Like you have to buy that's not easy, right? But the game itself is pretty simple, pretty casual. I mean, 75% of their players are on Android. Those are stats that Jiho has tweeted in the past. And the thing is that like you really want to develop for these developing markets, because that's where play to earn really makes sense, right? It's not as appealing to earn a few dollars, or like maybe like $10 to $15 a day or something, if you're living in the US, but that's very appealing if you live in Brazil or Latin America or Southeast Asia. And what's really interesting to me is that, and kind of funny to me, is that there's a lot of these game companies that are basically appealing. They're like, oh, we're gonna make this AAA, like the next League of Legends MOBA, or just call it next Call of Duty shooter, and it's only played on PC. And I just wonder, if the market's ready for that, and I think that it's actually much more appealing to go for that mobile first countries, and especially the ones that where play to earn makes more sense, because it's actually quite a lot of money for them, right? It's pretty significant for them. So that's our approach. So we want to definitely go for those markets as well, and we definitely want to go for that more casual. So it's a little bit easier for people who are new to crypto gaming to kind of get in. So for our next genre, we're still kind of like solidifying exactly what this would look like. But what we are envisioning is that we are going to have the next game be something very similar to, there's some like kind of like pet collector idle games that are out there on mobile. And we basically want to adapt those games into play to earn into crypto. So the idea being that the Oni Mansion is kind of like your backyard, or it's kind of like where your house is, and then you're going to be having these pets, and these pets may be able to do a lot of different things. We already have pets in our traits for our Onis right now. So of course there'll be some connection there as well too. that we'll be developing into the game. And the idea being is that there are definitely, a number of different games that are in this genre, that people have done really well with on mobile. But I think what's really interesting is that being able to collect them and potentially breed them. Of course, there's a little bit that Axie flavor to that, but we're envisioning something a little bit more collaborative and a little bit more focused on like the pet caring aspect versus like pure battling. So that's kind of where we are now. We have some inspiration from a couple other games that we've been looking at from the mobile side that have done really well. And again, coming from my mobile gaming background, know very intimately, what games have done really well in the past. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. Our goal as a company is not necessarily to reinvent the wheel too much on the gameplay side. I think actually at the end of the day, it's actually gameplay is making a game is really, really hard, right? So and then making Web3 DFs is very, very hard. So you add the two together, it's like I think there's huge significant execution risk for a lot of gaming studios out there doing crypto. So we want to kind of reduce the execution risk by working on game mechanics that work really well, and then innovating on the play to earn and the crypto aspects. So that's kind of how we view our upcoming games, and also just as a company, that's our philosophy.
Yeah, putting a lot of thought into the tokenomics is really important to us as a company, and making sure that there's longevity and it makes economic sense for the players. Because at the end of the day, that's really important for the players playing these play to earn games, right? It's about the earning, playing too, of course, but the earning and making sure that those economics make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like a lot of people, when they invest in a project, they're like, how is this project innovating? But I think innovation is a very big word. Project doesn't have to be innovating to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Like play to earn is already innovative enough. So if you just build on that,
totally,
I'm sure you'll be fine. And yeah, like mobile is very important, because if you don't have if your game's not playable on mobile, then you're gonna miss out on a giant player base, especially if you're talking developing countries, because they might not be able to afford a PC or a laptop.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and it's funny too, because you live in Singapore, so you have that perspective. But it's interesting. Like the biggest game in the world is not Fortnite, and it's not League of Legends, right? It's actually a game called Free Fire, built by Garena. They're based out of Singapore. In terms of daily active users, right? They were about like 150 million DAU or something like that in August. Massive, right? For comparison, Axie's like 2 million. It reached a peak of 2 million or so. So it's almost like it's just like depending on the day, right? It's almost up to 100 times bigger, right? And it's a game that actually people have never heard about if you're in the US, right? No one plays that game in the US at all, right? And it's all mobile, and it's literally just this absolutely massive game that is huge and draws incredible esports viewership, all around the world. But it's mobile, right? And it's also what's really interesting about it is that Fortnite on mobile is actually not very popular. Even when Fortnite was at its height, like a couple of years ago, even before they got banned off the Apple App Store because the Epic Games dispute with Apple and things like that. But Fortnite was of course very popular in the US, but it's just such a big, heavy game that people literally don't even have enough room on their phones in developing countries to even play and download it, right? Mm-hmm. So Free Fire is really innovative in that they did a really good job about keeping that game package, the game size of the development, really low, and that's really what led them to succeed in those emerging markets. So I think just having that perspective, where you don't think about that in the US. Like I have an iPhone with 500 gigs right on my phone, right, and so I don't even think about size at all, when it comes to downloading apps and stuff. But that's a huge concern in many countries for many players. So just being aware of that and making sure that we develop games that are very very focused and very cognizant of the limitations and what is the culture and what works in our target countries, I think is important. And I think hopefully differentiates us from the other gaming developers, which are very PC, Western world centric, I think, when they develop.
And we're also testing a lot of new features. Jason came up with the loot box with a loot box feature in our game. And essentially, after you complete 15 missions in the game, you get this loot box, and it's a special. It could be a very special trait that you can add onto your house, and with this feature, we're curious how many people do this feature, right? And we're learning as much as we can from this first game, and we'll be incorporating things that work really well from our first game into our next games.
Yeah. Another thing that might be interesting, given we are live streaming right now, is that, and given my background in live streaming as well too, at a platform, is that we were very, we were kind of thinking, well, is there an easy way for us to get people to be able to see the game if they're not a crypto player, if they don't own a MetaMask wallet? So what we came up with is that we do want people to be able to share our game. We view our game, again, to be very social and collaborative. So we were thinking, so what we're going to do, and this was not in our alpha last week, not built out in our alpha last week, but it is going to be in the final product, is basically a way for users who are not who don't have any crypto at all, just have a normal PC, just a normal computer, be able to kind of like, if I'm playing the game, I can send it out to my friends, be like, hey, check out my house. It's a crypto game. They will be able to see it without using MetaMask to log in or anything like that. But what they'll be able to do is they'll be able to log in through Google Auth, like their Gmail account. And then if they log in that way, then they can interact with the game in a very limited way. But if they do, then, and this is kind of like an Easter egg, so we're kind of revealing the list a little bit on stream, but the goal is that if they do that over time, as enough people log in and kind of interact with the game, then the mansion in the background will evolve over time. So there's some interactivity there as well too. And it's also kind of interesting if you're a streamer, then you have a lot of people watching you. Because I was thinking, like, how do, like, if a streamer wants to play this game just for like a minute or two while they're waiting for like their Valorant queue or something like that, like, could they pull it up and share it with their live stream? Then that's how they could do it, right? And the live stream could kind of come in and click a few things, click around, see their house, and then actually impact the game in a unique way.
Yeah, cool. You mentioned earlier that you're trying to become the Zynga of the play-to-earn space. So this might be a shock, but I actually don't know what Zynga is. So for people like me, do you want to describe how that would look like? How you envision that looking like?
Yeah, sure. I can take that one, Pavan. No, totally understand. Well, Zynga's a public company, so they're definitely around and kicking and doing well. But they are, I guess, the way to think about it is that back in, I guess dating ourselves a little bit, back like in 2010, 2011, right? Just when I started my career, Zynga was kind of like the really the poster child for the new business models of free to play and also mobile social gaming. So they started out as one of the biggest companies. At one point, they actually had about 30 to 40% of Facebook's user base was actually playing Zynga games on Facebook. So they were really the pioneers of social gaming. They were infamous at the time for being the ones to spam your Facebook feed, like, hey, like this guy, like, Pavan sent you a gift on like Mafia Wars or Farmville, right? Farmville was their big game, right? One of the big games. So they just really they really understood how to, really take advantage of the social growth flywheel that Facebook afforded. But yeah, anyway, so they're basically the best in class company at that time for developing for free to play, taking advantage of social platforms as a growth medium, and also then making the pivot also to mobile as well too, when mobile app stores started to come out. So so they of course have mobile versions of their Farmville game, but they also have like a Zynga Poker, which is one of the biggest casual poker games on the app store today, things like that. So they just have a lot of these different games out there. So what we envision is that they were kind of really good at just adapting and reskinning their games too. So for us, that's kind of how we envision ourselves in the future, in steady state. We're developing multiple games, multiple titles and franchises. We're iterating very quickly from a development standpoint. We are very focused on making sure the onboarding is really good and appealing to new crypto game players, because Zynga through Facebook and through mobile appealed to a lot of new game players for the first time who you never thought of themselves, like, you know, a lot of moms, right? A lot of parents, you know, played their games. So we kind of view ourselves to be, you know, that entryway, you know, and trying to get a lot more of those people interested in playing the games and trying to abstract the crypto stuff as much as possible,
Okay.
to make it easier for people to, you know, get into it. But of course, I think we obviously are very, we want to abstract that, but still make it so that the crypto wallet component is still, you know, meaningful, and eventually they learn how to understand how to use it. So I think for us, you know, we're very passionate about Web3 and decentralized technologies. So I think, you know, for me, the ideal is that have them still actually have like their own wallet, but just make it very easy for them to access it, so it doesn't seem hard, but they ultimately do, you know, have custody of their own wallet, right? So I think that's kind of like how I think about it. It's a challenge, but, you know, that's the challenge that we're looking for, and that's what we're passionate about, you know, meeting.
Cool. It sounds like an awesome way to grow the entire play to earn space. So definitely an awesome goal to have. I'm just gonna pull out the beta gameplay right now.
Sure.
And you guys mentioned that you have integrated Lazy Lions and Addies into your NFT project. Like, are these partnerships, and are you planning, like, are there future partnerships down the line, or which project are you looking to integrate next? Is your goal eventually to have all the NFT projects integrated, or?
So,
Sure.
oh, sorry,
Go
go
for
ahead,
it,
Jason.
Go.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the experience is actually pretty crazy because we made it bridgeless and gasless, meaning we created a smart contract functions to airdrop all players Matic. Like,
Nice.
we're actually going to be sending all these players real crypto, like a top 25 coin market cap crypto, to cover all their gas costs. We actually acquired like $50,000 worth of Matic. It's probably worth more now because we acquired it a while ago. And it's also bridgeless, meaning we created like Oracle-like functions in our game, so that essentially all the player has to do to play, all a Lazy Lion or an Addy has to do to play, is switch networks. They just have to go to MetaMask, switch to the Polygon network, and that's it. Now they can play the game, and they don't have to spend any gas throughout this entire game. They don't have to spend any gas to mint at all. There was a capital cost in doing this, in integrating these players, because we are, for every single person, we're covering their gas costs.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did for Lions and for Addies. And we're in conversations with the founders of both projects. And we just really like those projects. We liked how loud Lions are on Twitter. We own Lions, me and Jason. We loved Addie's mission on educating the world on NFTs and bridging that gap. Me and Ben, the founder of Addies, are in the same activist group together, and we were probably in the same room together at some point. Just didn't know each other. And so we also own Addies. So we're trying to bring in projects where we believe in their mission and we really like what they're doing. We really like the community. We want those communities to kind of like talk with our community. So that's kind of like what we're looking for in projects that we like.
Communities that you can vibe with and
Exactly.
they can add value to each other. Yeah.
Yeah, just to add to that, you know, we're kind of in the middle of scheduling something with the Lazy Lions and are in contact with the founders there, who love the project, and we're going to be invited to probably speak about it more, like in the Lazy Lions Den, which is where, you know, they have projects from other Lazy Lion holders kind of talk about it. So I think that looks like that'll likely happen. We're just kind of got to pin down the date with them. So, you know, they're excited for us to be supporting them, you know. But I just want to be very clear that, you know, the partner word is a very loaded word, right? So for them, we're supporting the Lazy Lions. We wouldn't necessarily, like, just be very clear, right, that from a partnership perspective, you know, they're very sensitive about that. So we just want to say that, yeah, you know, we're supporting the Lazy Lions. They, as founders, are really supportive too. and we'll also be talking about it in the channel. But just want to make sure that there's a distinction there, right?
Yeah.
With Curious Addies, they're definitely official partners with us. They made a lot of already like a couple official announcements in their Discord, and we've also done it in ours too. So that's with them. Like we just have a very close relationship with them from a personal standpoint, I would say, as kind of Yvonne was saying. So that one, we're definitely very eager to work with them. But at the end of the day, I think the way from a functional standpoint, if you own a Lazy Lion, if you own a Curious Addie or a partner NFT collection, then really functionally what it means is that you'll just be able to play the game when the game launches for free. Literally, just as I mentioned, switch to Polygon mainnet, go to our website, our gaming website, which will just be onisquad.gg probably, and then you'll be able to play the game. And we'll be able to identify that with the wallet that you're using, that you own a Lazy Lion or Curious Addie or an Oni, and then you'll be able to play. In terms of future partnerships, we are also talking to a few others as well. I don't know if we can mention them right now. I think, but we are kind of in the works of a couple others, so I don't really want to like kind of jump the gun on that one. But we're definitely really excited to bring them on board. I think additionally to something interesting about our company that we may not mention is that we're actually in the middle of closing a $2 million round as well too, from a seed funding perspective. A lot of those investors are either in crypto or in gaming, in the gaming world. And a couple of them actually have their own NFT projects too. So we're trying to see, maybe there's a way we could collaborate, with our investors' projects, for the future. So that could be really interesting. And we'll look to make that announcement on the funding side, probably, within a month, because it's almost done. We're just kind of wrapping up the last few people, signatures and stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Congrats on that. That's huge.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're really thankful to have some top tier people. One of the funds that invested in us was really early in Axie Infinity. Another one was early in YGG.
Okay.
So some of them own their own esports teams. We'll be able to announce more once the round closes, but just incredible people that I've looked up to my entire life, that I'm really, really thankful to have supporting us.
Awesome. Yeah. Are you guys planning to build your own side chain in the future, or do you think Matic will suffice?
Yeah, so our goal is to make onboarding so easy for people that it feels like a Web2 experience on mobile. Like I want people anywhere in the world to play our games and not have to go through any complicated process. And to do that effectively, we need to have our own sidechain eventually. We're really thoughtful about this, and we're really thinking about composability in ways that I think a lot of other people aren't. Right. So for our future sidechain, we're imagining oracles that tell us who owns what NFT on all chains. Right. No matter what chain you're on, Polygon or Arbitrum or Immutable X, Ethereum, and really just like aggregate real-time data about that on our sidechain. So it's really easy to like let anyone play your game. Like give Lazy Lions special privileges in the game. Give Oni Squad NFT holders special privileges in your game. So we want to make it really easy for us, particularly, to be able to build composability in all games. But also, in the future, also let like other people come onto our platform, build games, and easily integrate other NFT collections into their game. Right. Because it's actually very challenging what we did. We had to really think outside the box of how we were going to let Lions and Addies play on a game that is on Polygon, but their NFT collections live on Ethereum. Right. We knew that we have that Ethereum address in common, but it's on a different network. So when you're on Polygon, you can't like access the Ethereum network. Right. So we had to really innovate that process. We had to create our own like Oracle-like system inside of our game to be able to to have this composability. Our future sidechain, what we're imagining right now, I mean, of course things can change, but that this Oracle network will make that process easy for not just us and our studio, but many, many other games.
Okay, that's awesome. It sounds like you guys might, I mean, in the future, you'll be onboarding more games into your side chain.
That would be
If
incredible.
things go well.
You know, we're focused on us, just like
Mhm.
Axie Infinity is focused on themselves. You know,
Yeah.
it's important to not bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah.
Especially like, you know, Jason said, like Web3 is hard. Building a game is hard.
Yeah.
And doing both at the same time, it's important. It's important to be cognizant of what you're doing. And you know, it's important to build fast because you'll learn fast. And the more you learn, the more you can grow and iterate quickly, right? In a market that's moving as fast as crypto, where literally weeks, everything can change. It's important to be very nimble as a team. And that's our whole goal with being, you know, the Zynga of crypto, right? Building casual games. But yeah, we imagine a world where we make it easy for other developers to make like onboarding easy for them, for their players as well.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. What's also kind of interesting, I'll just add, is that you know, just given, you know, my background in entertainment and also just with the quality of our advisors and our investors too, is that's what's interesting, is that we've definitely been getting a lot more, even though we haven't even launched our first game yet. I think everyone's kind of looking at Web3 and from the entertainment and with IP outside, you know, outside of the Web3 and even the gaming world. And they're like, hey, like, you know, would love to look to do something in Web3 gaming, whether it's play to earn or not play to earn. You know, I think, you know, debatable round depending on who you talk to. But it's really interesting is that we're seeing that there's already opportunities coming to us where, you know, they're like, hey, we got this like awesome IP, or I have this, or characters, or this other world, you know, and would you guys be willing to potentially work with us to kind of develop the Web3 gaming, like a game for around this IP? So I think that's what's kind of interesting, is we're kind of seeing a lot of these opportunities too start to come up as we get to, you know, as we get better as a team, as more people know about us. So I think what's also really exciting and interesting is that maybe there could be potential, and of course this is already happening now with like the larger projects, like Sandbox has like some pretty cool stuff already happening and other characters coming in, but we are also seeing those opportunities even at our early stage. So we'll see, have to evaluate if those make sense or not. Or if there's ways we can integrate them into what we're in terms of our roadmap. But it's exciting, right? It's just like really fun, really exciting. It's a great place to be, like Web3 and crypto. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I can't believe we get to like wake up every day and work with like lazy lions and octopuses, curious addies, and like jungle freaks, and, you know, like just ghosts. You know, we have ghosts on the blockchain. It's super cool. And I just love being part of it. You know, just it's just a great thing to be part of. It's a revolution.
The whole NFT space is wild, and I love it. I think that's all the questions that I have for today. And for the last question, how have NFTs and this project changed your life?
It's a really good question. How did it change my life? It's all I think about now. All I think about now, and all I think about is like tokenomics and thinking about crypto sinks and making sure things are that the economics for our next game are correct.
They're just building, pretty much.
Huh? I'm sorry. What did you say?
They're just building.
Building constantly, working constantly. Prioritizing our team, you know, constantly, making sure we're working on the right thing, making sure we're focused on the right goal, right, which is getting as many people to play our first Oni Mansion game as possible and to learn as much as possible, setting expectations, making sure our team isn't blocked at all. It's impacted me in so many ways. Literally changed my life on Twitter.
Well, I think both Pavan and I, obviously, since being in crypto, obviously from a financial security standpoint, that's definitely helped a lot, I would say, right? Although definitely enjoy working and continue to do that, right? I just don't think it makes sense, especially at our age, right, to stop working. But definitely that helps, right, and definitely makes it a little bit easier for us to take risks in terms of like building a startup or working on something a little more earlier stage. So I would say that's one thing. But I would say the second thing that I think is really cool, I don't know if this is necessarily like life changing, but I think what's really interesting and really fun about the space, and this is coming, and this is comparing directly with my experience in the Web2 gaming space, is that, gaming is very closed, especially in mobile gaming. It's very hard to work with, like, collaborate and partner with other studios because, they're just so focused on their own game. They have to develop this API or SDK to integrate, and it's just like really hard, and just the culture is not very collaborative, right? But Web3, and it just may be more of a function of the fact that it's early, but I think it's a combination of the fact that it is early, of course, and then also because everything is just so public on the blockchain. A lot of things are just so public on the blockchain anyway, so you kind of by default are collaborative and open. So I think that ethos kind of permeates like all the founders too, and I guess people that are interested in this, working in this space. So I think what's really cool and what's awesome is that even for a lot of the high profile projects, they're definitely very interested in just working even with like early stage companies like us, and everyone's just really interested in just collaborating and just making sure that and supporting each other's projects. And I think that's kind of like the most awesome thing, right, about it. Again, it just might be because we're just all still pretty early, but it definitely has a whole like that WAGMI vibe is definitely like very true. I would say like we're all gonna make it. So that very collaborative like crypto community is very strong, and can definitely vouch for that across all the people we've talked to, all the founders we've talked to. I think that's actually the really exciting thing. It's just so easy to meet people too. And I was at NFT NYC, last month, and just everyone I talked to, just there's so much excitement and energy, and it was like very positive energy. It's very different than a little bit kind of the ICO craze, I would say, because people are actually building stuff now. They're not trying to rug, although everyone, who knows how these projects will do, right? But people actually are intent on building things now, and everyone's excited to collaborate. So I think that's the most exciting part for me. I think that's really exciting, and just getting to meet all these great founders. I mean, I actually talked to the Sandbox founder a couple months ago, and even though we were just so early, he was really excited to learn more about what we were doing as well too, and seeing we could work together. We're so early, and we're 2D, not 3D, but would love. I think, of course, we'd love to see what we can do with Sandbox in the future. Once we're a little bit more ready.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I love the whole vibe of the cryptos. I mean, the NFT space. We're all, a lot of collaborations going on, and we just collectively want the space to succeed. So it's awesome to see. Yeah, thank you for that. I had a lot of fun, and I hope everyone watching had a lot of fun, and I hope you guys had a lot of fun too. So.
Thanks so much for having us. I really appreciate it. Thankful.
Yeah, we did. It was fun. Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you. And if you're watching, have a great day, night, wherever you are. Peace out. I'm terrible at outros, but they know that. They know that. Okay. Peace.